Welcome to All Waves Considered. I'm your host, Mike Hayes.
And I'm your host, Julius Viciani.
Today we're going to talk about Pensacola's greatest asset from the 70s that we've lost and comes back and loses is Pensacola Point and Bay, which is at the end of Santa Rosa Island down in Fort Pickens. It was definitely the best wave in Pensacola for many, many years.
Tell me a little bit about it. What was your experience with it?
Basically, anytime there was a big east swell, which happened quite often, southeast wind blowing hard for several days, we would go to Fort Pickens because the rest of the beach would all be just a washing machine and big. And so we go to Fort Pickens.
You've got videos that we took up on the wall. That's where you checked it from. The point was probably another 7,500 yards longer. What we called the bay, the back part of the very end of the point, we called the bay. And when it was good, you could jump on that wall and see it. Perfectly waves ridden by guys. Favorite memory of that place is jumping up there one day, and I watched three guys, Beezer Turner, J.B. Falbo, and Lance Moss all take off in consecutive waves, and each one of them got on the tube. Just basically almost stand-up tubes, and I just freaked out. Yeah. And so we would see things like that, and you'd run down there just so excited. And so that was the bay, which was the back, the very tip, the very back of the water, where it actually already wrapped all the way around and would break, pointing back toward Fort Pickens. And then there was a confused zone as you went south, and then as you started heading back east, 50 yards up beach from where the bay was, there was the point.
Yeah. And
the point was like I said, it was like a left-hand point, just would break down the whole thing for about 200 yards, 100, 200 yards, and sometimes it would section off, but it was a really fun wave. It was more of a wall, and there's usually always a current up there, so it would pull you down, so you did a lot of walking back up, jumping back in, and walking back up, and it only broke maybe 25 feet off the beach.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to paddle out. You just jumped in and, sometimes you get hammered, but if you jumped in and paddled at an angle, you get right out. Then that wave would reform into the bay, and the bay was sort of the same thing. As I told you, you could sit there and watch for sets on smaller days and just jump out into the lineup and be right at the peak and take off. If you ate it or ate the takeoff or pulled in the tube or ate a maneuver, and it would take you and just thump you. I mean, it just would roll you. The wave had so much power, it would roll you and you'd end up on the beach. And it was just an insane wave.
I'm thinking it was Charlie Schuler who gave me the Mark Fu quote about like that place being one of his second favorite places to surf or one of his top two. And I feel like when I talk to a lot of the more veteran surfers, I feel like the point has a huge part of their imagination.
It's so ingrained in us. It quit breaking in 79 when Frederick came through. Just wiped the whole island out. I mean, where there used to be 10, 20-foot dunes all the way from Fort Pickens Gate all the way to the Coast Guard station or to Langdon Beach now, you couldn't see the water.
Yeah.
Frederick just wiped it clean and flattened it, and there were gaps in it. The point was gone. And so we didn't have a point for, I don't know, a good probably 8 years. Till the end of the 80s, toward the end, it started showing again. They came and dredged.
Were you dying when that was happening?
It was horrible because that was the whole thing. We didn't go really anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, we did, and it was something about the weather patterns also that we would have huge overhead southeast days with hard east and southeast winds 2 or 3 days in a row. And the surf would just be unruly to where you couldn't really do anything with it. The main beach, maybe surf the inside, but the outside was just giant and choppy.
Yeah.
And so that's where we went, was to the bay. And it would be great. It'd be, it broke anywhere from the bay and the point broke anywhere from waist high to, overhead. And so if it got east swell, that's where we went. And it was such a great wave, we really didn't go too many other places.
Yeah.
I grew up east of Gulf Breeze, so I surfed in Navarre Pier a lot, just on normal, onshore days with straight south swells or southwest swells. I would stay down there. But any hint of the east, we were always at the point.
Yeah.
When it wiped out, when it totally went away, we were sort of stunned until a couple of years later that Fort Walton guys started telling us about this break in Panama City, which we had all surfed, paddled across the channel in Panama City from St. Andrew State Park to Shell Island.
Yeah.
But usually it was on west swells. or west swells that blew west real hard all night and then went offshore the next morning, and we'd paddle over there and surf the right hand points, and there's some lefts too, not point but great right handers. And then these guys go, no, when it gets big and east, you need to come down here and surf inside the jetty. And we went, what do you mean, on the west side tidal pools? Which was no, the other side, the pass. That's what we found. The Panama City guys called it the pass. Some Fort Walton guys came up with the name of Amazons for it. Mm-hmm. And Amazons is a phenomenal way. It's probably the best wave in Florida. Well, the bay and point probably were at the time, but until we knew that was it.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of fed us for a couple of years.
Held
us over till they started dredging again for the forestall aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm.
The bay and the point started breaking again. The point broke first, and started happening. Bay broke again. Then it stopped again because of Aaron and Opal in the mid-'90s, and George wiped it out again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came back a little bit. I think they dredged one more time for the forestall before they shipped it off. Point started breaking. The very end part of the point was breaking again, and I was down there one day with John Green, and we look, there's a wave again in the bay, and we watched it, and all of a sudden there was a waist-high wave.
Yeah.
And we freaked out. We ran and jumped in, and there were waist to chest-high waves. We were just super excited that it's back. And so that was like early 2000s or so, and it lasted again, and then Ivan wiped it out. And it's been sort of fickle ever since.
Yeah.
It'll break sometimes, it won't break sometimes. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's horrible. And it's just wild.
Yeah. Can we back up a little bit? One of my favorite things to ask people is like their experience of surfing itself and some of their first memories of surfing. Is that something that you could talk about?
Sure. My first memory of surfing is probably my brother and his friends trying to surf. Mm-hmm. They had surfboards, my brother didn't, and we would go to the beach, and I thought surfing was cool.
Yeah,
and it was neat. So I'd always beg my mom to buy me one with a styrofoam surfboard, the little ones that you lay
on. Boogie board,
like a free boogie board.
Okay,
they were styrofoam with no covering, and you'd lay on them, and they were just your chest would bleed. I mean, it just rash it to bits. And I loved that, riding waves on that.
Yeah,
I would get so mad because my brother and his friends would be out playing, paddling around on the guy's longboard, and they'd grab my little styrofoam board and go out in the canal. We lived on a canal behind us, and they'd break it every time. And I'd get so mad, so bummed.
That's pretty savage.
Yeah. And so I got to be a teen or early teen. I probably was 13 maybe.
Do you remember what time this was? What year?
This would be in the early 70s, like 72, 73. So let me say, I graduated high school in 77. So I started really surfing between my freshman and sophomore year. So that would have been for 73, but this would be before like 71, 72.
Yeah.
72-ish maybe. I wanted a surfboard so bad, so I asked for one for Christmas and everything. My mom was like, no. And the nail in the coffin of ever getting a surfboard from my parents for a present was we lived around this corner from a surfer. Like, I grew up around some good surfers. The whole Cobia, Ted and Hank and George Cobia all lived around the corner from me. Down the street from them lived a surfer named Scott Shepard. And they all used to go to Delaware in the summertimes and surf up there. And so Scott went up there and had a brain aneurysm while out in the water. Mm-hmm. And they had to pull him out of the water, and they ran him to Annapolis, to the Navy hospital there, and he lived. And I remember him, Scott was, had an eye patch and his head was shaved, and I'd see him around. I was like, whoa. But I asked my mom for a surfboard. She said, no, you can't. Look what happened to, Scott. He got hit in the head by a surfboard. And so that's what Scott's mom was telling all of the grown-ups.
Yeah.
That he got hit in the head by the surfboard. So I probably held my surfing off for 2 or 3 years because I didn't have the money at the time to get a surfboard, and my parents weren't going to buy me one.
Yeah.
Finally, I saved up enough money. A friend of family's, one of the girls had a boyfriend that was selling a board, and I bought a 6'6" Islander Roundtail, and it was my very first board. And that was, like I said, the summer of between my sophomore and junior year.
Okay, and was that the local shaper at the time?
Well, one of them, yeah. They were Islander Surfboards had Brian Waters.
Uh-huh.
And they were over on the west side of town behind Hudson's Hardware Surf Shop.
Yeah.
And then Hank Warner was also here at the time, and he shaped basically where Harbor Town is. If you turn into Harbor Town, right where that turn is was where Yancey's first little shop, New Air Surf Shop was.
And he'd been convinced by Yancey to come here. Is that correct?
Well, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
They knew people and sort of convinced him to come here. I'm sure there was a girl involved.
Okay.
And why he came. But Hank was here, and he shaped in a little shack.
Yeah.
Because there was a building that was a surf shop, and you walked about 50 yards toward the beach.
Yeah.
And it was behind a fence, and there was a little shack there by a giant oak tree, and that's where he made surfboards.
Yeah. All right, back to your experience of a surfer. You have this new board.
The new board, and I'm so stoked. I'm finally getting to go surfing because also, at the end of my freshman year, a guy named Dave Skelton, who used to own Buck Surf and Sport, and used to show surf movies, showed a movie at the high school, and you had to buy a ticket to go see it, during school. And I watched it one time, and it was just, I can't remember if it was 5 Summer Stories or Going Surfing. It was one of those two. I bought the ticket, and I watched the movie, and I was just like, yeah, I knew I was right. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I had art next, and it was in the art rooms near where they were showing the movie, so I snuck out of art and watched it again. We had to go surfing, got the surfboard, surfed that summer with friends. Mm-hmm. I would hitchhike to the beach a lot. I grew up in San Jose Shores. And so that was one of my early memories of surfing is hitchhiking to the beach with my surfboard.
Yeah.
And it was always so funny. We lived down on the Sound on the canal, so I'd have to walk from down there up to the highway, to Highway 98. It was probably about a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles. And I would get passed by people I knew. Older people.
Yeah.
Like, that's Mrs. So-and-so. That's Mr. So-and-so. And I have my phone out, and they just drive right past me. It's like, what in the world? And then I get up on the highway and put my phone out and get picked up immediately. It's just like, because surfers had a stigma that, we were druggies and everything else. And at that time in high school, I'd never, didn't do any drugs or anything.
Yeah.
I was out of high school before I did that. And it just blew my mind. And I hitchhiked to the beach and out surfing, and I'd find someone that was coming back this way, and they'd give me a ride.
That's great.
And in high school, I met Mike Warren, who I don't even know what's happened to him, but he surfed. And he knew a guy named Ricky Ray. And Ricky Ray and I became good friends, and everybody had nicknames back then, and his nickname was Dago. And so I would ride with him, and he's the one that got me to go to Navarre. But super nice guy, introduced me to Navarre and some other guys, the Delaps and Peanut Schuler and Charlie Schuler were the main guys down there. That's where Brenda Stokes was. She grew up down there and surfed. Those were great day memories. I mean, the first day I ever surfed Navarre, I remember they just built the pier, the cement pier. The old wooden pier was sort of partially there. And hanging from the pier on the sand was a 10-foot hammerhead they had caught that morning or that night, and it was hanging there. It's like, we're going to surf here? And Ricky's like, yeah, come on. And I jumped in the water. From surfing there, I met a guy that was in my class and became my best friend, my roommate for a long time, Leo Pullman. And he showed surf movies in the 80s, and we used to do that with him. And then my other roommate, Lou Peterson, was a couple years behind us, and he lived down the highway too, so that's who I hung around with. Mm-hmm. Just we were surfers, and we were surfers in the Gulf Breeze Surf Club. And
okay, so I'm hearing the social aspect. Can you talk to me more about the experience of surfing and why you keep doing it?
I guess because, like I said, from the movie I saw, it looked like so much fun.
Yeah,
and I'd always loved the water, swimming like crazy. Snorkeled, all that stuff. And growing up on the water, east of Gulf Breeze, and the beach was just a fascinating place to me, and waves were fascinating to me. And just even body surfing, the feeling I got of being pushed by that wave got me hooked. Yeah. And then when I started surfing and stood on a surfboard and realized the speed, once I got past kookness a little bit, just the grace of it all. Yeah. Have just that, how everything flowed, that if you got it right, you could take off and turn. It was just so flowing, and, and your cutbacks and your turns, it all was just in your head. It's almost like a dream. And sound basically went away also when to me when you're riding, other than just like you pull in the tube and you could hear it hissing, or underwater, and or people, one of the neatest things ever is people hooting at you. You
Yeah.
don't hear it that much anymore, but when someone got a good wave or took off, everybody would hoot and get excited. That was just, to me, just so cool. And then the brotherhood.
Yeah.
At the time in the 70s, we knew everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Gulf Breeze, but yet I knew, guys from, that went to Woodham High School, guys that went to Escambia High School. I mean, I met Brian Malone. He was Escambia High School. The Price, Dirk and John J.P. Price. I met them, and they were from, over in town. And Robert Fink, who became a good friend of mine from, he went to Woodham. It just, you met everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then every couple of months, we'd have a surf movie.
Yeah.
And that was like where everybody just came together.
Mm-hmm.
The tribe, and the surf shops would have little booths and have new surfboards, whatever's new in the shop there, and you get to look at it. And then you see these waves from Hawaii, and for the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, everybody's just hooting like crazy and screaming and yelling, and just so much excitement that was it.
Yeah, it
that
sounds
was
estatic.
Yeah, it was. It was
sounds
just
like-
it was just so much energy and so so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was different. It was just different.
Sounds like Pentecostal church.
Yeah, probably pretty much. It just, everybody was having so much fun. And yeah, sure, there were people that got bummed with fights and run people over and all that stuff, but it was no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was all just so much fun.
Yeah.
And and that's what kept me in it. And just the allure, at first of just getting better.
Yeah.
Just, I want to be better. I want to be better. I want to go here. I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go travel. And that just gets you going. But just the whole thing of, jumping up in the morning, and the neat thing about where I grew up, grew up in the 70s. I had cheap parents. So, our air conditioner was rarely on.
Yeah.
We just open up the windows and the breeze from the sound would blow in.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember so much waking up in the morning and hearing the rumble of surf from across the sound.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking about like 2 miles away.
Yeah.
Could hear the rumble.
Yeah.
And just, it just would be joy to my heart and excitement, and I'd be up and gone.
Yeah.
And another great memory from that early years was I was working in a Holiday Inn Navarre, and so I worked at night so I could surf during the day, which was, what every surfer wanted to do. And so I was at home one day, and I was asleep. And my mom came in the room, and she woke me up, and she goes, "Mike, I think the surf's up." And I picked my head up off the pillow, and it was probably the loudest I'd ever heard it.
Oh, wow.
And it's sure enough, because we didn't have, Surfline or anything like that back then. We'd watch the weatherman on TV to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, there was some storm down the bottom of the Gulf that was sending a swell. And it was like 6 feet that day. And I got my stuff together and ran to Navarre and surfed Navarre. And I surfed with Peanut Schuler, Charlotte's younger brother. And we went to Destin for a while. And then we came back to Navarre. But just, that whole excitement of it is probably what kept me going.
That's a great description of that.
Just excitement, and the mystery, of all the stuff. And then meeting, when I started showing surf movies with Leo, that was like one of the first things that we start meeting people from not here, that had been places. And they would tell these stories because these were the guys that usually shot the movies. Yeah. And then, when I started working for Yancey in the shop, I started meeting, heroes and stuff. I met Mark Richards. I worked for Sean Thompson. Yeah. Just people like that. I got to meet Nat Young, Greg Knoll, all these, people that I grew up, heroes. Yeah. I lived on the beach one time, and the Lightning Bolt team came with Roy Russell and stayed in the house next door to me. Just all sorts of stuff. Got to meet all sorts of neat and unique people.
So we don't have a ton of time left. I can stretch things. Okay. I'll just turn everything slow-mo. All right. Doubled my time.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. This is great. Right now, I'm in a moment of indecision. I almost want to go back. What I want is, I loved your story where Yancey ran you over
Oh, okay.
And I also love the way you described how the point, people could surf the point because of the technology at the time, and when boards changed, the bay became accessible. Is that true? Is that what you were telling me?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the boards, like when the guys first started surfing the point, shortboard revolution had happened, and so boards were sort of more, Either they were the wide tail twin fins that were horrible, Hawaiian miniguns, and then there were a lot of eggs. Eggs worked really good around. They still do work. I'd say the best board if you had one board in Pensacola to ride, it would be an egg.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than a fun board. You just can make sure you know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think as boards got better, the bay opened up because it was a little hollower and quicker and faster. And I'm sure Tom Hudson said no, we were surfing back there, but it just seems like there was more talk about the point and not so much of the bay.
Yeah.
But I do think as the technology of the boards got better, and we got winged swallowtails and stings and all sorts of stuff where you could turn them easier and stuff. I think the bay became a little bit not as scary. Yeah. Because like Pacific Current, if you lost your board back there and your leash broke or you didn't have a leash, the board was out in the pass. Yeah. You had to go swim for it. Whereas if you lost it up on the point, most likely it would wash up on the beach. Yeah. But if you lost it in the point, or if you didn't paddle well enough in the bay, you get sucked out there too. You're always worried about the current. So yeah, definitely I think our equipment helped a lot. And definitely so when it came back to life and we were on thrusters and better twin fins and stuff that really got really good. But the thing about Yancey, so I grew up, like I said, down in east of Gulf Breeze, and Ken Roos, who did like ding repairs and used to own the surf shop and everything, he lived around the corner from me. And so I had gotten a ding in another surfboard, and I knew he was over there, so I went over there and to get some stuff or get him to fix it. He had all these boards, and he goes, no, here, I'll show you what to do. You just fix it yourself. And so he showed me what to do, and my friend Ricky Ray and I sat there, and Ricky knew something about fixing dings, and we fixed my first surfboard, and I took it back over to Ken and go, oh, yeah, you did a good job. So the next couple of years, I fixed dings myself. So surfing for about 2.5 years or so, and I really hadn't gone in many shops. I had gone and bought a board from Yancey to get Hank to shape, and Yancey had told me at the time that it was the most expensive board that Hank had ever made. Okay. Because of what a double wing pintail with a design that Freddie Myers Ukiah did on the bottom of it. And so I'm paddling out one day at the pier, it's decent sized day, paddling outside. I'm paddling next to the pier, and I look over and I see Yancey take off on this wave, and I know who Yancey is, but he has no idea who I am. And he gets in the tube, and he's 50 yards from me or so, and I look back, I had no way he's going to make that. Yeah. So I just keep paddling, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the pier, making sure I'm not getting sucked in the pier. Next time I look over, and Yancey's yelling at me, and I'm right there, and I dive on my board, and he runs over my board, puts a big gash in it. And, I come on, I'm sorry. I didn't think you were coming out of that. That was so cool. And I think by telling him that I didn't think he was going to come out, he came out, it was so cool. I think it sort of, boosted his ego. Yeah. And, let me off the hook.
You're fine, kid.
Yeah, you didn't yell at me. I went home and went over to Ken, got some materials, and I fixed the board. And so about 2 weeks later, surfing up the pier again, and I'm walking down the beach, go surfing, and Yancey's standing on the beach, and I walk past him, he goes, hey. I went, yeah? He goes, didn't I run over you? Did you get your board fixed? Because Yancey was a constant businessman. Yeah, he ran me over, but he was also thinking, he's got to bring the board to me to get fixed. So he goes, did you fix your board? I go, yeah. And he goes, let me see. And he goes, wow, this is really good. Who did this? I said, I did. And he looked at me. He goes, you did this? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, who taught you? I looked down and I said, Ken Roos. And I know probably you went and yelled at Ken Roos for teaching me how to fix things, but it benefited him later in the years because when I started working for him, I also started doing ding repair for him.
And for years afterwards, you did ding repair at Interlight, right?
I did ding repairs for Interlight up until 2018.
So we're probably over, but if there was any parting, is there any last thought or anything that you have?
I think this is a great thing you're doing. Talking to people about their experiences surfing, it's great. And
Thank you.
Keep it up. And I know you haven't been surfing that long. I'll just tell you, just keep surfing. It's fun. I'm 65 years old. I've been doing it for 51 or 2 years, and I still love it. Mm-hmm. I'm not as quick and fast as I used to be, but I still have a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm still stoked to see people surfing.
Thank you. Yeah, when I see the better weathered surfers in the lineup, I think that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy when I'm that age.
I think we were the same thing. We were thinking, God, that guy's old and he's still surfing. And then these guys, I ended up knowing them. They're only like 7 years older than me. But at the time, it's like, oh my God, they're old.
Because there were no 60 and 70-year-olds surfing when,
not here.
Yeah.
Not here. Maybe out in California, Hawaii, but not here.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to All Waves Considered. My name's Mike Hayes, and I'll tell you guys mahalo and aloha, and keep the stoke.
This could be the overtime one. Your advice, we're 2 weeks away from a presidential campaign.
I'm not going to get into that.
Well, and I know that there's people that you love. Brian Malone, for instance, Rob Fink.
Yeah.
How do we continue our relationships with people in a time where there's increasing partisanship, heightened emotional?
I think that surfing is one of the greatest things.
Yeah.
I mean, and that brings us together. As much as like Brian and Robert and I do not agree politically on things.
Yeah.
We can go out in the water and be best of friends.
Yeah. And out of the water.
And out of the water.
Yeah.
Best friends. I mean, we'll rub and jab each other and, tell each other we're crazy and everything else. But, at the end of the day, if, Rob or Brian or any of my other friends need something from me, I'm going to be there for them.
Yeah.
You've got to get past this thought that, it's us against them.
Yeah.
It's just like when something happens to surfing, when they want to close the beach or they wanted to where we couldn't surf on both sides of the pier.
Yeah.
We came together as a group and sat at City Hall and fought that.
Yeah.
The same thing. Surfrider Foundation we have common ground. We've got to fight for everything. I mean, just not what we want.
Yeah.
But what's the best for everybody. And that's where people get confused, is they think my way is the best way. I teach math, and I tell the kids, math is black and white. There's no gray area, but there's 100 different ways to do something. But there's always just one answer. And sort of, to me, that's sort of the same thing with this. There's one United States.
Yeah.
It's what's going to be the best. Do we want to see it? My biggest thing is ecology. I remember time when the bay was so polluted you couldn't swim in it.
Yeah.
Huge fish kills and stuff. And that was because there were no regulations.
Yeah.
Regulations came along. I told you this before. When I was a kid, there were no pelicans in Pensacola.
Or osprey,
there
you were
were
saying.
ospreys.
Yeah.
Because DDT and the chemicals in the water. You can say, well, it's driven up the cost of things. But it's also, saved things. I mean, I love that. I see pelicans everywhere and ospreys fly over your head and get a fish.
Yeah. Even since I've lived here, I feel like I see more osprey on the bridge.
Oh, yeah. All that. But, that's my biggest thing is like ecology. I want everything to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Because if we destroy the earth, we're gone.
Father time, I hear the tick, 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 ticking of your clock.